I stopped seeing into people, instead began feeling into colours, breathing in light and sighing out darkness. I'm loving my spiky star-shaped edges. I stopped trying to round off my soul to fit into projections of the lost and the many. No shapes anymore, just softness and sound. Mellow and flowing, a river gently meandering through a fresh, green, leafy glade, touching into spirit and knowing. I'm diving into my heart and accepting my shadow with compassion, loving others and self. I stopped seeing into everything, now feeling with colour and heart, because I know all are simply rainbows connecting earth and sky. Mellow and flowing, then solid again. I love my spikes and edges. Love shapes like the flow of the river. The river flows into the sea. We are all one drop in an ocean of colour. We connect through heart. We are light. I open soft to you, so don't stop the flow. Hi everyone, welcome back to the In Between Worlds podcast, and thank you for staying with us, and maybe share our podcast with your friends if you feel so inflicted.
And we're available on Apple. What else?
Apple, Spotify, and Castbox. So we're talking about how everything is alive, even things as dense as stone. We know from science that everything is connected because of vibration. And we have talked about that before. There isn't actually anything such thing as matter, but what happens is the vibration of the molecules creates a whole quantum universe.
It's hard to understand.
It's just the frequency of the vibration that creates the density. Actually, matter comes from the Sanskrit word matra, which means measure. And if you go into that word even deeper, it becomes Maya. And Maya means illusion. And this is what we live in. We live in an illusion. So everything in this world vibrates. And it's due to the density of the vibration, whether it's solid or things we can see or not see.
So if things are higher vibration, we wouldn't be able to see them?
No, yeah, they're in a different frequency than us. It's like, let me think now, because we want to go back to the thing that everything is connected. So if you go to the sea and you watch the sea and waves coming in, it looks like each wave is an individual thing, but really a wave is just a part of the ocean.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on to create the wave is actually underneath.
And it's just part of the ocean reaching out then?
Well, and that's what we are. We're everything is connected on that level. So no wave exists apart from the ocean. So everything we see exists, and it's as not individually but as part of the whole system.
Well, that's comforting, isn't it? Like it's a nice thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So what is it that exists in everything? And we would say that is spirit or life force.
So that be prana then? So we would have learned in yoga? Or
Yeah.
is that breath work?
Yes, and actually all different parts of the world and all languages, a lot of languages, really old, ancient histories, like peoples have a word for it. But of course we do not have a word for it
Not in the English language.
Not in English language. So, and actually, what I'm talking about, I find it difficult because it's something you feel, and it's we don't have the language even to explain it.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about today is something you experience and you know. It's a kind of knowing, and you have to experience it for yourself. So, like, we all have relationships with our pets. So, and like, your pet becomes part of your family.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a dog, Susie. So,
Susie was sitting beside us now.
wouldn't you think that sometimes, it's like Susie knows what time it is that she gets fed?
She knows everything that's going on.
She knows if we put on our shoes. She gets excited because she thinks she's going out.
And she knows when she's not going out, even though we are putting on her shoes.
That's right. And she, yeah, just other things. And she, you know, when she's really happy and she loves us, the only thing is that she communicates in a different way.
Mm-hmm. No, we experience that even with other humans as autistic people.
Yes, it's true. And there's a lot of autistic people who don't choose to speak for different reasons.
I think that as human beings, surely every single one of us experiences that spirit in some way or another. Like, that's our
Yes, you'd like to
our
think
thing
so.
that we have as humans,
Yeah.
our ability.
So you could say that matter is spirit and spirit is matter. And that the way I look at it is all matter obeys the universal laws. So
Which are?
Well, I like to think of them as 7 principles or Hermetic principles. Have you heard of those, Connie?
I haven't.
They come from, well, they've been developed over a number of years, like centuries old, but people really believe that they originated in ancient Egypt with a guy called Hermes. So that's why they're called the 7 Hermetic laws. So you can say that everything in this world, in this matrix that we live in, obeys the 7 principles, which are, let me see. First is the one that we know, the law of vibration. So everything vibrates. Everything we see is a product of the vibration and how dense or how light it is.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got that one,
Mm-hmm.
clear. The law of polarity, which means everything is dual. So for one thing, there is an opposite. So night, day, in, out, up, down.
I understand.
Okay. And then going on to the law of rhythm. So this is the one that I always feel more worried about, because for the law of rhythm is that if the pendulum swings left, it has to swing right. So
What goes around comes around almost.
almost like karma. So like you can see it really in, like, we would think if we had more money, we would have more freedom, and with more freedom we would have more choice, and then maybe we would be happier.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we can see by things in social media and all that some people who are very rich, they've got some real tragedies in their life,
Yeah.
like mental health problems, whatever, sickness.
Yeah. It's unavoidable.
Seems to be. So that pendulum swings one way, so you're really rich, and then but it swings the other way then. So there's always an opposite, like.
Yeah.
So it means for us is that when we do something, we expect something to happen. So it goes back to the threefold law. What you put out will come back to you. So you need to be careful what you put out, really. But I always think of that, if there's a way of overcoming all these laws, but like with that law, what it is you don't become so invested in the result. So if you go for something, like if you do something, if you have a big campaign going to help someone, don't make it public. Don't do good things and expect a return and to be called a saint. Do things silently.
Yeah, just with the intention of doing them.
With the intention of doing them. Do your healing silently. If you go through like a really painful process or whatever, you don't have to tell everyone about it, and cry about it forever. But go through it. Does that make sense? Or do I sound harsh?
No, I think it makes sense.
So that law always makes me a bit uneasy. The next one I would think of would be the law of cause and effect. So everything has a
consequence.
Everything has a consequence. That's it. So, and you need to think of what you're doing, what you're putting out there. And the last one, which is a bit controversial these days, is the law of gender. So in this world, a masculine has a feminine polarity, together. There's always masculine with feminine, and everything in nature, in all aspects of life.
So they're always together?
Well, it's good. It's good to have a balance. Like even with us as women, like we have to embrace the divine masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
So we would look at what is feminine in us, which would be nurture, care, what else, mothering, all those kinds of things. And the masculine would be the strength.
The hunter-gatherer.
The hunt,
yeah.
Or no,
the hunter.
Well, the woman would be the gatherer, yeah. But you see what I mean? Everything has that. So really, I want to go on to talk about animism.
I have no idea what that is.
Animism is I think when it was first came as a term, I don't even know who it was, but I know that it was first looked at as a kind of a religion, but it's not. It's really it's just that belief that everything is alive and has a purpose. So it talks about
like animated. It must come from that word.
I'm not even sure, but it sounds obviously, yeah. But it's about the vital force that is in everything. And again, that vital force is a spirit. So we would see that, wouldn't we, like?
Yeah. Well, we are spirit, are we not?
We are, but I'm not talking about us, I'm talking about...
But it's the same as us, though, but it's made of the same thing that we are. It's just formed in a different way.
It's all expressed in a different way.
Yeah.
So even that blue chair over to my left has some kind of life force, but it's not maybe to our higher degree that it can express itself. We can express ourselves verbally and non-verbally. A chair is...
It's Susie's chair, so if it could express itself, it would be screaming.
It would be saying bow wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one thing I like, we would experience that in trees, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Like we have favourite trees when we go to different places. In actual fact...
I experience it in all kinds of things.
Yeah, well you do, but I'm just giving trees as an example. So like in the Irish cultures, like way back, trees were sacred to the tribes, and actually, if like old trees that were 400 years old, people would actually honour the tree more than their own chiefs. They would protect the tree before they would protect the chief of the tribe. But nowadays, like, that's like trees are not seen as anything. Again, it goes back to that thing about not being connected.
And then people who are invested in saving trees, for example, are tree huggers, hippies. Like they're seen as weird
Yeah.
for wanting to protect nature.
It's not strange in itself that is the way it is.
I suppose that's the duality then.
Yeah.
There's people who want to save the trees and there's people who don't.
Yeah, and that's the way to look at it. You know, actually, when we look at that as one of the universal laws, then it gives us some understanding and compassion for those people that have no connection with anything. Because they have to be there too. There's a term called genius loci, which means spirit of the place, and that's an old Roman term when the Romans were here, and they would actually talk about the spirit of a place, like it would actually freak them out, the spirit of a place, but that's a real thing, and it's your connection with a piece of land.
Whenever, I don't know any of the names or anything or the dates, but whenever the Romans were coming to Ireland or coming near Ireland, when they used to fear the Irish soldiers, they had these big instruments. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
It's great. I think it'd be about 5 feet tall, and it goes up in the air, and it's got a horse's head at the top.
Oh God.
But it's like a big horn, and it just creates like almost like a foghorn sound, but it's really powerful sound, and they used to blur that like over the battlefields, and it would scare the Romans in that way. But to create those instruments, like in that time, they had to have such a knowledge of their land and their materials, you know, and how sound works, how air works, the vibration, everything.
Like, imagine that. I don't think the Romans did very well in Ireland, did they? Like, I don't think they were too bothered. They didn't see the value of it with such harsh people as the Irish. But little more than animals. Well, we'd be so lucky to be little more than animals. Another thing too is we can relate to is, well, we love animals, but even stones, like, and I'm talking about crystals, of course, and those kind of stones, but even if you go to any sacred place, you're always pulled to actually pick up a stone, because you feel if you take that stone and bring it home, you're taking back a bit of that place with you. Mm-hmm. You know, don't you feel that? Like, if you're bringing back a bit of the spirit of the place. Although, like, a lot of these sacred places,
You're not allowed to,
and it's actually not a good idea to either, you know.
So that's, I wouldn't be picking up things, especially if it's at a very sacred place.
No.
I'd be afraid of taking something from them or disturbing the vibe.
Yeah, and the places like Newgrange and all, the stones, they're like, are very special. They're like marble stones, and they're carried there, and sometimes people, like, no one actually knows. We can only guess. Actually, archaeology is they keep coming up with reasons why things happened, and maybe then 10 years later they'll announce suddenly, oh, that's all wrong. This is what that was actually for. And now they're saying, I was watching a thing, they're saying that the cave men and women, before they had no language, they had no spirituality, and now there's new evidence showing that they had great knowledge of spirit and connection with the sky, and they cared and looked after each other, and they definitely had a language.
Yeah.
But some people believe that those white stones at Newgrange and all are represented. They were like cairns for burials, but each stone represented a soul or someone that died that was buried there.
Ew.
But no
So
one
if you
knows.
take one of them home,
If you take one of them home, you might be taking somebody with you. But I'm not talking about, like, I would never do that, of course. But like an
it's like
ordinary
being a
stone.
grave robber. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, well, yeah. It would be. But you see, but you can understand the pull to pick up a stone or
Yeah.
whatever. But you have to be very careful. And of course, even recognizing the spirit of the land, like, it's almost like you would ask for permission before you enter the land.
Yeah.
And maybe think of the ancestors that were there before you and talk to them and ask their permission and give them thanks for the entry onto the land and the work that you want to do there, whatever you're going to do. So also you would ask permission before you pick up anything or take a branch from a tree or whatever.
Yeah.
So we had an awful experience recently. We went to, like, there's a place that we have a connection with the spirit of the land, and that's Navan Fort, which is an ancient place in Northern Ireland. It's thought to be the seat of the kings of Ulster, and it's in County Armagh. It's just outside Armagh City. But the archaeologists have been up there and they're making new finds all the time. And they know that the place has always been a place where people have lived. It's an ancient place and they've found different things
It's
there.
always been sacred too.
Yeah, now they believe, although we knew this before they've said it, that it was most likely always held as a place of worship, that actual mound in Navan Fort. So it was a place where people connected with their gods. So it's a very sacred place, but I would go there sometime and ask permission, and I would gather herbs from the ground like eyebright and different things, and then get some elderflower from the trees and make lovely cordial. But when we went there, the actual trees had been cut down.
So many of them.
Just cut down, and the hedges cut down, and you could see they even mowed up all the little wild herbs, so that was done in the name of consumerism. So it was about making the place look more presentable for visitors coming, from other places.
Which doesn't even make sense. I don't know. I suppose, I don't know, maybe we're different. But you want to go and see all the beautiful trees and all.
Well, it's hard to make sense of, but it did look very,
Sparse. It looked a bit bare.
well, it looked very, very looked after, didn't it? From what we know it as. We know it as a
bit
more
more
wild
wild,
place,
yeah.
like where there's lots of birds and wildlife, and now it was more like a ground.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
So you could see what they're doing, but anyone with heart and knowing even a little bit would not touch those trees, because those elder trees are very sacred trees in a lot of cultures all around the world. And you definitely, it's not lucky to cut down one of those trees. But
Not there.
I
Especially
wouldn't,
not
yeah.
there.
I did notice that they didn't touch the hawthorn trees, which showed a wee bit of knowing, because you wouldn't want to. Some of the spirits that are present in the land in Navan Fort are like the Sidhe people, the fairy people, and they're very prominent there. And they take many forms. Sometimes if you go there in the evening, you can see them shooting about, but they take the form of rabbits, so they're kind of hiding. But you can feel the energy of them. But it's again back to that people have when they've lost connection with what's important.
Yeah.
So what's important is to make money and draw more people to Armagh and make this a place where people want to come and see. And in doing so, they had to cut down these trees,
Yeah.
which is terrible. So that's spirit of the land. But I think, again, it's hard to explain to people the life force that you feel in everything, because it is a thing that you have to feel. It comes from experience. And that's why I think shamanism is making it a real important kind of comeback.
Yeah.
Because shamanism is about a more authentic way of living, and it's about connecting with the land.
Yeah.
And everything, all the animals, the stones, the trees, the plants, and having a knowledge of your, like, every land, the people, like people maybe in Norway, people in Iceland, people in the South Americas, they all have their own unique connection with their lands and what's important. And here in Ireland, we have ours. So it's different things to different people all over.
Yeah. But the same, essentially.
It's like being a guardian, really, or a caretaker. Like, I think we have an opportunity to be caretakers of animals and plants and trees and the land. And maybe that's why we have more be able to speak, and to communicate more and have a more sentient role.
Be like advocates almost for...
Yeah, in this earth. But that's sort of lost. But yeah, how can we end this in a happy note?
You could do a wee dance.
Do we dance? I don't think so. But yeah, it's important. I would just say, like, go out and experience that for yourself. Like, if there's a lovely tree where you are, or near where you are, if you see a tree that you feel is beautiful, go and sit in front of the tree or stand in front of the tree and close your eyes and just reach out to the tree with your heart and make that connection.
I think it's lovely, like a beautiful meditation almost.
You get a lot of answers from trees, and whatever, you can ask a question, and whatever comes back to you, accept that. Whatever, like, don't think you've made it up because it comes from somewhere deeper than you. Just accept that and honour the tree and give thanks to the tree. But that would be my closing words on this topic. Just know that there's magic and life in everything, and we ought to honour that. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next time.
Bye.
Thank you. Sláinte.